Today I present our plan for the working people of our country. On behalf of all of you in our party who have contributed to it, and on behalf of all of you in our country who have inspired it. And my case is simple. Britain can be better. Britain can be better for you, your family, and our country. And as I propose this change, I'm guided by one simple truth. It's only when working people succeed that Britain succeeds. Because you see, I believe that the wealth, the success, the future of our country does not simply come from a few at the top. It comes from every working person in our country. And I'm not going to pretend to you today that building this country will be instant or easy. It has demanded change from us. It will require change in the way the country is run. And seeing it through demands new and different leadership. But today I want to tell you how we can make it happen. Today I want to tell you why Britain needs a Labour government. Now, the very start of our manifesto is different to those that have gone before. It doesn't do what most manifestos do. It doesn't offer a list of promises, a shopping list of proposals. Instead, it seeks to answer the questions you're asking. I know many people want a fairer Britain, but they ask whether it's possible. You want to see your children have a better tomorrow, but ask how we can pay for it today. You want Labour values and a new start, but you ask whether we can be responsible with our nation's finances. This plan shows there is no trade-off between being disciplined and making a difference. The plan we lay before you is no less ambitious because we live in a time of scarcity. It is more ambitious because it starts from a clear commitment to balance the books and because it does not stop there. This is a plan to change our country. And it is a plan which shows Labour is not only the party of change, but the party of responsibility too. So page 1, line 1, sets out Labour's budget responsibility commitment. A clear vow to protect our nation's finances. A triple lock of responsibility. First, we're the only party at this election which can show how every policy in our manifesto will be paid for. No commitments requiring additional borrowing, not a single one. This is the first lock. Second, our manifesto writes the first line of Labour's first budget. This budget cuts the deficit every year. And that budget will only be presented when that has been verified by the Office of Budget Responsibility. That is the second lock. Third, the next Labour government will meet our fiscal rules, with the national debt falling and a surplus on the current budget. A triple lock. My vow to you, the British people, everything in this manifesto is funded. The deficit will be cut every year. The books will be balanced and the national debt will be falling. Today, I tell you how we can deliver, and I offer our manifesto as proof. A better plan for a better future for our country. Now, this commitment to fiscal responsibility is the foundation. And what a contrast with the Conservatives. In recent days, you've seen them throwing spending promises around with absolutely no idea where the money is coming from. Promises which are unfunded, unfair, and unbelievable. That approach is bad for the nation's books. And you know, nothing is more dangerous to our NHS than pretending you'll be able to protect it without being able to say where the money is coming from. You can't fund the NHS with an IOU, and the Conservative Party need to learn that lesson. Because this is the road that leads only to broken promises and working people paying the price, with higher taxes and public services undermined. The Tories are the party of sums that do not add up and commitments that will not be kept. We are a party that will keep our commitments, and every promise we make is paid for. That is the difference between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. But you know, I don't pursue, we don't pursue this responsibility for its own sake. It's the essential, strong foundation on which we build. Because I tell you plainly today, we have to change the way this country is run and who it is run for. Because for too long, the British people have been told something that just isn't true. That what's good for the richest and most powerful is always good for the whole of our country. That as long as a few individuals and companies are okay, we can just wait for the wealth to trickle down to everybody else, with one rule for the few and another rule for the many. And what does it mean under this government? Insecurity for millions as the prescription for economic success. Everyday people having to pay the price of hard times. Young people fated to have a worse life than their parents, and public services cut back to the core. We've had 5 years of these ideas. We've had 5 years of this experiment, and it has failed. So today we tear up the old assumptions. Britain succeeds not when we only reward those with the six-figure bonuses, but when we reward the hard work of every working person in our country. Britain succeeds not when our schools and hospitals are cut back to the bone, but when we invest so they can strive to be the best in the world. Britain succeeds not with communities that are fraying at the edges, but when we have communities where people share a common life. Britain succeeds not when those who have the access and the wealth have all the power, but when everyone's voice is heard. And Britain succeeds not when we turn in on ourselves, but when we are strong and confident and look outward to the world. That is the kind of country we are. That's how Britain can be better than this. And it all begins with our economy. You see, we believe the success of our nation will be built on the success of working people. So with our plan, everyone who puts in will get to share fairly in our prosperity as a country. See, the Tories would have you believe that low pay is necessary for Britain to succeed. Friends, that is wrong. Low pay and insecurity stop us succeeding. They hold back working people and hold back our country. So we will set new ambitions for the minimum wage. A minimum wage by 2019 reaching its highest ever proportion of average earnings, rising to more than £8 an hour. So hard work pays again in our country. And we write the next chapter in the fight to end low pay. And as we tackle low pay, so too insecurity. This government has overseen an epidemic of insecurity with 0 hours contracts. I tell you, a text message at 6 a.m. telling you if you have work that day is no basis for building a modern economy. And our plan will have a simple principle at its heart. We will legislate so everyone who works regular hours will get a regular contract, not a 0 hours contract. And that is just the beginning of our plan for family finances. For the 4.5 million people on tax credits, we pledge today to protect them, not cut them, as the Tories have said they would. For working parents, we will not just have 25 hours free nursery care for 3- and 4-year-olds, but we will go further. The next Labour government will introduce a new national childcare service to work with primary schools, to help guarantee that wraparound childcare that should be there for every working parent that wants it. And we will seek to bear down on all the costs working people face, showing how we can freeze rail fares in the first year of a Labour government and do it in a properly funded way. And I make this promise to working families today as well. We will not raise national insurance or VAT, or the basic or higher rates of income tax. So my pledge for your family finances: an £8 minimum wage, exploitative 0 hours contracts banned, tax credits protected, childcare extended, no rise in VAT, national insurance, or the basic and higher rate of income tax, because this party is determined to raise the living standards of working people in our country. And the reason we can make these commitments, is because we will make sure that those with the broadest shoulders bear the greatest burden. So we'll reverse David Cameron's tax cut for millionaires to help pay down the deficit. We'll crack down on the hedge funds who avoid paying their fair share. We'll stop HMRC operating double standards. We'll call the tax havens to account. And we'll do something that no government has done for over 200 years. We'll say enough is enough to the people who live here, work here, send their kids to school here, but don't want to pay taxes here like everyone else, and we will abolish the non-dom rule. And it's not just on tax, where we'll end the old idea that there's one rule for the rich and powerful and another rule for everyone else. The next Labour government will help create the conditions for wealth creation in everything we do. That means being pro-business, but not pro-business as usual. You can't have banks that are so powerful that they can have things all their own way. That's what we learned from the financial crisis. So with our plan, we'll set a threshold for the market share of the banks, get real competition on our high street, and not have businesses serving our banks, but banks serving our businesses once again. And we won't stand by while powerful energy companies rip off businesses and families, keeping prices too high. So our plan will freeze energy bills so they can only fall and cannot rise, and give the regulator the power to cut prices this winter. Pro-business, but not pro-business as usual. And while we maintain a competitive tax regime for large firms, we will champion small and medium-sized firms and cut and freeze business rates for 1.5 million companies. And the reason we'll do it, is because small and medium-sized businesses will create so much of the profits, wealth, and jobs of the future. And here's the thing. You have to ask, who do you want in power when it comes to these big decisions? When the knock at the door comes from the big 6 energy companies? When the banks send a message asking for a better deal for them? When the tax avoiders turn up demanding that the revenue turns the other way? Or when the phone call comes from Rupert Murdoch? Who do you want in Downing Street? Who do you think will stand up to these powerful interests? Who do you want standing up for you? The answer will never be David Cameron, because he's strong at standing up to the weak, but he's always weak when it comes to standing up to the strong. Whoever is making their case, I will always stand up for you. With me as Prime Minister, no powerful interest will outweigh the interests of the working people of our country. That is my mission as Prime Minister. And giving a future for working people and building the wealth of the future means giving opportunities to all of our young people. What does this government plan to do? It plans to cut investment in education, shortchanging our children and shortchanging our country. That's something this Labour Party will never do. We'll invest in our young people and invest in our future. We'll protect our Sure Start centres, our schools and our colleges. We'll guarantee apprenticeships to every young person who gets the grades, and we'll do something else. We'll make amends for the mistakes of this government, for the betrayal of young people, for Calamity Clegg, and we'll cut tuition fees from £9,000 to £6,000. And it's not just education that needs protecting. We need an NHS with time to care for us all. That's why it's right to ask those who can to pay a little bit more, with a crackdown on tax avoidance, a levy on the tobacco companies, and a mansion tax on the most expensive properties worth over £2 million. It's a properly costed, fully funded plan for 20,000 more nurses, 8,000 more doctors, 5,000 more home care workers, and 3,000 more midwives. That is the rescue plan that our National Health Service needs. And we'll do something else. We'll call time on David Cameron's privatisation of the NHS, with a cap on private profits in our health service. And we will do something else. We will abolish, we will repeal their terrible Health and Social Care Act and put the right values back at the heart of our National Health Service. Now, the importance of this idea that our country only succeeds when working people succeed goes beyond the economy and public services. It shapes our plan for our communities too. Take immigration. I'm the son of immigrants. I stand here today with deep gratitude and love for my parents and what they gave me. And deep gratitude and love for what this country gave us. I know how immigration can benefit our country. But I know also that if working people are to have faith in the system, there have to be controls. Those who come to our shores from abroad should make their contribution to our country before they claim benefits. People should learn English if they work directly with the public in our public services. And we must never allow the wages of working people to be driven down by the gangmasters, the rogue employers, and those who avoid paying the minimum wage, because this Labour Party will always fight exploitation wherever we find it. And changing the old way of running the country means something else, and this is really important for us. It means challenging the way government works. It's about opening up politics so everyone's voice is heard. And it's about giving power back to those to whom it really belongs, the British people, in every single part of our country. More powers for the Scottish Parliament, more powers for the Welsh Assembly, and to the cities, towns, and counties of England too. It's time to end a century of centralisation throughout our United Kingdom. So we want to win power in order to give it away and to give new energy to our democracy. It's time to extend the right to vote to 16 and 17-year-olds so young people can have a proper voice in our country. And you know, I'll never cease striving. If I'm Prime Minister, I'll never cease striving for a more equal, more just, and more fair society. It's why I joined the Labour Party. Equal rights for all. Whatever your gender, race, ability, faith, or sexual orientation, that is the Britain I believe in. That is the Britain we all believe in too. And just as we need change here at home, so too abroad. Let me just say it plainly. I believe in a Britain that looks outwards, not inwards, that works with others in our national interest. That's why for jobs, to tackle problems from terrorism to climate change, and because we're at our best when we're confident in the world, our future lies inside, not outside, the European Union. We will work with our allies for reform, and there does need to be reform, but there is no future for this country withdrawing from the world. And we'll work with our allies too, across the world, to face all the difficult issues we need to in our national interest. You know, I pledged to this party and the country when I became leader, we would learn the lessons of the 2003 Iraq War, and we have. We do not seek to solve the problems of the world on our own, but we will engage with the world. We will continue the fight against ISIS in partnership with our allies in the region and the world, because they are an evil organization that must be defeated. And our plan at home and abroad goes together. A country that works for working people again is a country that will be confident and secure with its place in the world. So this is our plan. And you know, today we follow in the footsteps of those who have built the great institutions of our country. All of them called time on the old way of doing things. In 1945, Attlee called time on the dark days of the Depression, and he said, "Never again." In 1964, Harold Wilson called time on the fusty old way of doing things, and he beckoned in the white heat of the scientific revolution. In 1997, Tony Blair called time on a decaying public realm, and he said our hospitals, our schools, and our public services could again be the best in the world. I do not offer a government that tries to carry on from where the last Labour government left off. I will lead a government that seeks to solve the challenges of our time. Now, over the last 4.5 years, I've been tested. It's right that I've been tested. Tested for the extraordinary privilege of leading this country. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to put an end to the tired old idea that as long as we look after the rich and powerful, we'll all be okay. I'm ready to put into practice the truth that it's only when working people succeed that Britain succeeds. If you elect me as Prime Minister in just over 3 weeks' time, I will work for that goal. I will fight for that goal every single day, in everything I do, in every decision I make. I know Britain can be better. The British people know Britain can be better. Together, let's make it happen. Thank you very much.